Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new, welcome. Today we're going to be doing a fill on a Gel X set. This was the set that I did for the 4th of July, so they definitely got to go. They're definitely growing out, as you can see here. So if you're interested in watching, I will see you shortly. Hey friends! So today with our fill, we're going to be doing it with 3 different items. First one is going to be a Polygel. Now it is also super important to point out that this brand specifically was a soak off. So that way with the Gel X system, we're not going to use a hard gel because that does kind of cancel out that. Next, we're also going to use the adhesive. So this one is the 123 gel from Nail Couture. And on the back, it shows that this one is also like a builder gel. So it can strengthen nails. It can be an overlay. So essentially, if you have a gel inside of a pot, it's going to be the same as this method. And then the last one is going to be a bonus method. So first, we'll go in. We're going to take our rhinestones off. I wanted to keep this clip in so you can see just how strong they are. It's been about 2 weeks and they are not going anywhere. So if you are interested in how I get my rhinestones on and what products I use, please comment below, or you can always watch any of my other videos to get some tips and tricks. But I have never lost one, nor has any of my clients. Alright guys, moving on now to the next step. I did want to show the bit that I use to take down any design, or if I'm going to be doing a soak off, this one is perfect. It is by Pana and it is a 2x coarse tornado bit. And as you can see here, it will absolutely take everything down. So even some of the residue that's there came off too. Additionally though, I did want to show if you have the RPMs too low, it could totally be the right bit that you're using, but it just won't do the job. So here I have it, I believe at about a 5,000 to 6,000 RPM. And once I switch it over, I do go about a 10 to 12, and as you can see, it is just powering through everything. So that went through the top coat, that went through the color, it went through the base, it's going all the way down to the actual Gel X nail. So make sure, one, that you are using the correct bits, but additionally, you also want to really get to know your e-drill and kind of perfect your speeds and your technique before doing this. Additionally, if you have it too high, you can actually like eat through the Gel X set, and then, you know, you're gonna have a huge hole. So just be very careful, especially if you're going to be doing this on a client. Definitely practice first. Next though, I just wanted to show you, like going through the sugar nail, just how effective this bit or the correct bit can be. You don't have to have this exact one. You can also use like a really coarse like mandrel bit or sanding band. There's also really good cone or barrel ceramic pieces, so those are also something to look into. Because we're doing a fill, I'm not going to keep the length because I'm actually going to take these off tomorrow, but this is the length that I went with just for kind of tutorial purposes. So I cut them down a bit, and the next step that you're going to do is, once you have the entire design taken off, you can actually see just how much is growing out and if there's any lifting. Personally, I always will trim around rather than using any type of file or even an e-drill file. It just makes it a little bit easier and a little more precise. So going in very carefully, I am going to clip all of the, let's say, excess or lifting part of the tip, which you would have never seen until you actually did the first step. So I'll go ahead and kind of speed through this process so you can see how we do that before moving on to the next step. Next, if you are using one of these drills, the next piece that I'm going to use, or the next bit that I'm going to use, is actually going to be the mandrel bit I was just speaking about. Now, realistically, this is going to go on the natural nail. So a 120 is probably the lowest that you want to go. And then definitely a higher number is going to equate to a softer or a finer band. So anywhere higher than 120 is totally fine. As you can see here though, I'm being very careful not to actually touch the nail. We switched it out though to a softer band because we will eventually touch the nail plate and the new growth. But for now, we're going to be very careful. Just kind of walk that bit right around the nail just so we can help flush the line, since it's no longer flush with the cuticle anymore, since it has grown out, if that makes sense. And once all the nails are actually flush with each other, or with the new growth area and the natural nail, then I like to go in with my swipe solution. So originally I would use the Young Nail Swipe, but I actually ended up just mixing the 100% acetone with a like 90% isopropyl alcohol. So if you do that, the alcohol is going to be like a cleanser for the nail plate, but the acetone actually will melt the tip just a bit, just to go in a little bit more and even make sure more thoroughly that the tip is now softly matching with the growth part. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you can see here, you can't tell anywhere that's actually grown out. You can actually just kind of see, it looks like my nail essentially, and that's really good. You don't want to leave anywhere that's lifted. That can possibly lead to the greenies or some water getting underneath. So take your time with this step, push back the cuticles, make sure that it's really clean before actually moving on to the fill itself. If there are some stubborn like parts to the cuticle or any excess skin that I couldn't get with the mandrel bit, rather than going in even more, I want to protect the client's nail, and of course protect your own if you're doing your own nails at home. So I would just use a nipper like this just to get any of the excess skin up. This next step here is definitely extra, and you don't have to do it because everything is blended, but I myself am extra. So I have here two different types of safety bits that you can use for the cuticle. Today I went in with the rounded bit because realistically that's what I would 90% of the time use on a client, just to be extra safe. But I'll go in and touch only the cuticle. You don't want to touch the nail or the natural bed itself because we have already done what we needed to do there, dehydrated and got it ready for our actual application. So right now this is just going to go around and get any of the excess cuticle that is right up close to the nail without actually touching the nail plate. And once we have finalized that step, if you did decide to do it, we're going to take that same swiping solution and just go over again. A tip in one of the other videos was not going left or right, but going rather from the cuticle line down to the free edge. I always do it that way, and it's just to ensure that you don't get anything in those growth channels on the side of the nail, which would also kind of lead to lifting. So this first method is going to be with the polygel itself. You are going to need a soak off polygel if you're doing this method. You're also going to need a brush similar to this. A lot of kits will come with one. I prefer to have a larger one, especially if you're going to be doing longer nails. It's definitely helpful. And then some type of slip solution. This one smells like watermelon and it is so yummy. It's from Nail Couture as well. If you don't want to purchase that, I totally get it. You can also just use like regular alcohol. You just want to make sure it's over 90%. So we are going to prep and prime the growth on the natural nail. First step here, of course, is going in with our dehydrator. And then next step, of course, if I can turn my hand, sorry. I am working with my non-dominant hand, so if some of the footage is a little shakier, kind of zoomed in, it's because I was far from the camera. Just wanted to put that out there. So what I'll do is gel sticks to gel, especially polygel, so it's really important to put a base layer down. I'm going to start from my ring finger, at least for this method, and we will go in. We're going to coat the entire nail because I don't want it to just stick where we primed. I do want it to stick to the entire nail. So we're going to put that base gel down from the new growth area and from the cuticle line all the way down throughout the entire nail, and then flash cure that for 60 seconds. Perfect. So once that is cured, it does have a sticky layer, like a tacky layer to it. If I turn to the side here, you'll see that there's not a lot of work to do since we actually already made that extension flush with our own nail. But we are going to take a little bit of the Savvyland Polygel. I am going to use the back side of my spatula just to show you how much, but I wouldn't realistically use the back side. I would just kind of squeeze some out. So we'll take a little bit of that, and it's honestly like the tiniest amount. It's going to be mainly focused where the new growth is anyways, and then just kind of blend it into the tip since that already has an apex built in. So we'll put that really close. My hand slipped. Again, using the non-dominant hand, so that's fun. We'll get a little bit of the slip solution here, and then we're going to spread it down. And for whatever reason, this gel kind of stuck to my brush, which you'll see here. Normally it doesn't, so I don't know if using my left hand, maybe I didn't pick up enough of the slip solution. But you definitely don't want it to stick like mine is here, because then I had to like change the method and swipe down. Ideally, you would just kind of pat that around the cuticle area and then lightly blend it into the tip. I'll get this all cured though, and then show you what that looks like too. Alright, so once that's out, it is going to have a tacky layer on it. Polygel does, so you can build additional layers. For video purposes, I'm not going to build up an entire apex and make it look really nice just because I want to show the method itself. But you would totally skip this cleansing part and just go in with your second bead and kind of build up that apex just a bit, or the shape that you would like, especially if you're practicing and you overfiled and it's a little thin, then this is a perfect way. It's also the strongest. Next though, with the 1-2-3 gel, this is the like extension gel or the extend gel that Apres has as their system. It's just called a 1-2-3 press on gel with the 1-2-3 go system from Nail Couture. So what I do here is we're just gonna paint it on. It's essentially a builder in a bottle, or some people use like a rubber base. We will put down a dollop kind of where the new growth is, and then push that up to the cuticle line, so most of it is focused there. And then just kind of float your brush down the remainder of the nail just to smooth everything out. Now, if you do want to build a little bit more shape to the nail or thicken at all, if you have overfiled, I'm going to show you a trick on how you can do that with Builder. And it's super easy because it's really thin. So you're going to put like a dollop like I did here, and you'll see it's focused right in the middle of the nail, like kind of where you would build that apex. And then you'll take that hand, so yours or your client's, and you're going to flip that upside down. Now, by doing this, gravity is totally working for you, and it's going to pull the gel to the center of the nail, and that's going to create a natural apex for you without you doing much work. So when I flip it over, you'll see exactly what I mean. And it did all that work for me. So we'll go ahead and cure it. While you're curing, if you notice like your gel, like mine here, is a little bit thinner, then you're going to want to flip the nail over for a second and then flip it back to freeze in place. But after a full 60-second cure, this is what that will look like. All right, and then last but definitely not least, this is the infamous bubblegum gel from Nail Couture. There are also Amazon dupes that you can get, and I have seen this online a lot as of recent, so it's definitely getting a little more popular. It's really sticky, but it holds absolutely phenomenally. So less is more with this product, which means you'll have a lot kind of sitting around, which makes it perfect if you use this and you want to do a fill. You can just get a little piece like I did here, and you actually just roll it in your finger. I think this is the easiest method, and I would say it's the most beginner friendly. From here, I would probably go to the Polygel, and then I think the hardest one to get is going to be that builder gel, just because it's a little bit thinner and you got to work a little faster. This one, though, does not move. Like you can see when I place it down, I am going to use the same slip solution as earlier. But again, if you don't have slip solution, you can totally just use some alcohol. And you're going to push that right into the new growth area as close to the cuticle as possible. And then you're going to kind of use a patting motion the same way you would with Polygel. Essentially, we're doing the same thing as the Polygel. It's just not going to be as strong. So if you're looking for the strongest method, my recommendation is the Polygel. It's also really easy. But if you have this, or you're looking for something easy to at least start practicing, I totally would recommend using one of these types of gels. And then this is what it looks like when it's completely done. Alright, now finally, I'm going to just speed through this process. I'll leave it up so you can see just how everything files down. But essentially, they're all really soft, so super easy to file. I wouldn't use an e-drill for this step because it's definitely softer than the tip itself. So you want to just hand file this part, just kind of get that shape back exactly how you want. And then you're also going to buff. So once you have the shape back exactly how you like or how the client likes, go ahead and use a buffer or one of those buffing blocks. You can also use just a higher grit nail file over the entire surface of the nail. And that's going to get it really smooth and flawless. So that way you're ready for like prep and ready to move into design. Lastly, you're just going to want to wipe everything away, For this video, I just sprayed it down with some alcohol so you can see how they look. But this is what the final will be, and you're ready to move on to design. Let me know which one helped out the most, or if you have any other questions. Thanks for watching. Say hasta luego. Muy bien, rapping kilo.